Welcome and thank you for joining us and being here. I'd like to begin by introducing Ladiesfund. Ladiesfund is a global platform dedicated to empowering women through access to funding, knowledge, and networks. Through its wide-ranging platforms, Ladiesfund recognizes and supports women at every stage of journey. Its initiative includes the Ladiesfund Awards for Sustainability in collaboration with international partners such as UNIDO and UNDP, and supports from institutions like British Deputy High Commission and EY. It also runs impactful platforms like the Burak Center by Ladiesfund and the Women's Startup Bootcamp designed to help women-led businesses grow and thrive. Ladiesfund's vibrant community spans chapters across Pakistan, introducing Karachi, Islamabad, Lahore, Peshawar, Multan, and Sakardu, and globally in cities like London, Barcelona, New York City, Toronto, Kuala Lumpur, and Washington, D.C. Through all its work, Ladiesfund encourages women to take charge of their futures because its motto is simple yet powerful. Invest in yourself. You can learn more and become a member at Ladiesfunds or by contacting us at Ladiesfunds Official. Today's session falls under Ladiesfund Safety, creating safe spaces for women, an initiative dedicated to awareness, prevention, and action. As April marks Sexual Assault Awareness Month, #SAM, it's specifically important that we come together to have open, informed conversations. Sexual violence includes any unwanted words or actions of a sexual nature carried out without consent, and understanding this is the first step towards change. Our talk today, Understanding Sexual Harassment, Rights, Respect and Responsibility, aims to shed light on these critical issues, empowering each of us with the knowledge to recognize, respond to and prevent harassment in our communities and workplaces. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Sana Pirzada. Sana is a member of the Ladiesfund Breast Cancer Task Force and the author of the Ladies White Paper on Medical Malpractice. She is the founder of Virtual Legal Advisory and a legal expert in corporate employment, gender, family, work and workplace harassment laws. An accomplished academic, she has taught law, criminology at leading universities, hosts legal awareness webinars, and is also a published fiction author in the UK. Please join me in welcoming Sana Pirzada. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum everybody. I would like to begin by expressing my profoundest gratitude to Tara Daud and Ladiesfund for giving me this opportunity to talk about a subject that is immensely close to my heart, that of prevention against sexual harassment. And I would also like to thank Saima Zafar for that wonderful introduction. I'm Barrister Sana Pirzada, and I run a platform called VLA Virtual Legal Advisory and Sana Pirzada Legal Solutions, which are platforms dedicated to addressing human rights violations. Sexual harassment is also a human rights matter, and it is essential to talk about it. Over the last couple of years, I have been fortunate enough to be invited as a guest speaker and as a trainer to educate people about the legal framework of sexual harassment and the do's and the don'ts. Many victims remain silent, many don't know the laws, many are afraid to speak up, and it is because of this silence, the taboo surrounding topics such as sexual harassment, that I come into the picture and I help people, I help employees with expressing their grievances, and of course with the management of organizations to addressing these issues. As part of my platform VLA, I am also presently in the process of preparing a handbook on prevention against sexual harassment, which the primary purpose, of course, is to educate laypersons and professionals from all fields about the relevant laws, the landmark judgments, and what amounts to sexual harassment. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is what exactly is sexual harassment And why should we talk about it? So harassment is any unwelcome conduct. It could be verbal, it could be visual, it could be written, it could be physical, that humiliates or intimidates another person. And it is not just limited to sexual advances. It does include hostile, degrading, or discriminatory behavior that undermines somebody's dignity at work, school, or in public life. Talking about it matters because silence perpetuates impunity. When victims, men, women, or gender diverse people cannot speak or are not believed, we normalize abuse. Harassment steals dignity, it affects one's mental health, and drives people out of the workforce. And more than anything else, it destroys trust in institutions. This is why it is so important for us to talk about sexual harassment and to understand the intricacies of the matter. Now, everybody is aware of the hashtag #MeToo movement and the fact that it emanated from Hollywood, the Harvey Weinstein allegations, and so on and so forth. And we've seen the power of social media. We've seen the power of how this online campaign turned into something so much more global, so much more epic. From corporate boardrooms to universities, from factories to newsrooms, countless individuals began sharing their stories. The ripple effect reached South Asia too. Pakistani women of all professionals also joined in this #MeToo movement. And the International Labour Organization estimates that 1 in 5 people have experienced verbal, physical, and psychological violence or harassment at work. And unfortunately, nearly 60% of those cases have gone unreported. In Pakistan, the United Nations and the Federal Ombudsperson's Secretariat for Protection Against Harassment, FOSPA, have reported that over 2,000 formal workplace complaints were filed between 2018 and 2022. However, the real number of incidents is far higher, and as we know, because of the taboos and because of the cultural restrictions, people, and especially women, are still forced into silence in a country like Pakistan. A United Nations Human Rights Council study noted that around 93% of women working in public or private sectors in Pakistan have faced some form of sexual harassment, and that complaints come not only from offices but also from universities, hospitals, and even government departments. And such figures emphasize that this is not an isolated or urban issue, it is systemic and it is cultural. There are certain myths pertaining to sexual harassment that must be dispelled. Certain people have formed a rather one-dimensional view of what could amount to sexual harassment or what falls under the umbrella, and that is simply not the case. One of those myths is that sexual harassment victims or survivors are only women. Now, that is not true. Whereas in a vast majority of cases, globally, women are victims, men have also reportedly been victims and survivors of sexual harassment, and indeed, the Pakistani laws also take this into account. And I will come to the relevant laws in just a moment, but just for your information, the 2010 Act defines the complainant as a man or as a woman. Another myth is that harassment must be physical. Again, this is not true at all. As per the relevant acts of our own country, harassment can take many different forms. It could be it could be verbal, it could even be leering, it could be unwelcome jokes, messages, repeated comments, and emotional coercion, online harassment or cyber stalking, and a number of other things fall into the category of sexual harassment. So just the fact that it's physical is not the only definition of sexual harassment. Harmless flirting is another myth. No, harassment is about power. It's about power dynamics, and it is not about romance. So anything that could be uncomfortable, any kind of advances which may put a woman in an uncomfortable situation can amount to harassment. So there is no excuse to say that it is just harmless flirtation. The fact that there is no witness, and if there is no witness, it's not valid, no. It all amounts to credibility, to your, to what your experiences and what you've been through. It does not matter that you do not have WhatsApp. Yes, of course, the more evidence you have, the better it is. But if, for instance, there are no witnesses and there is no concrete evidence, credibility matters, your experience matters, the circumstantial factors and circumstantial evidence matters. Another and very important myth is that reporting ruins reputations. The only thing that ruins the reputation of an organization is covering up harassment and not reporting it sooner. So these are some of the myths that organizations and individuals need to take into account. The problem with a country like Pakistan is that most people are completely unaware of their rights and their obligations. And that is simply because they don't know where to find the relevant laws for that particular subject matter. So many people have over the years come to me, and especially with regards to sexual harassment, they've said that according to them, there is no law and there is no justice. And I've corrected them saying that no, we do have some very concrete laws on sexual harassment. In fact, some of them are very eloquently worded. And they are laws of substance. There have been some landmark judgments, and FOSPA has been doing a remarkable job. And I'm going to take you through some of these very important statutes. The first, of course, is the Protection Against Harassment of Women at the Workplace Act of 2010. Now, this is a very important statute because it highlights the definition of harassment. It takes you through the ambit of harassment, the different acts that constitute it, the obligations that workplaces have. For instance, drafting an anti-harassment policy, for instance, highlighting what the inquiry process ought to be within an organization, what does the membership of that inquiry committee consist of, what are the sort of penalties to impose on the perpetrator should they be found guilty of harassment, and many other things. And then, of course, the 2022 Act sort of broadens the definition of sexual harassment. It bridges the gap that was left by the 2010 Act, and it brings into account another term called the hostile work environment and gender-based discrimination. And I would suggest to everybody, whomsoever sees this webinar, to kindly download these acts from the internet. They're readily available. Just download them and read them, because it's important for you to know the ins and outs, especially if you're working in any given organization, to see whether that organization is properly following the legal framework. The Pakistani Penal Code is also extremely important. It criminalizes words, gestures, or acts intended to insult the modesty of any person and punishable by imprisonment or fine. And then PICA is also extremely important, Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act, which makes cyber stalking and cyber harassment criminal offences, which are punishable either by fines or by imprisonment. And we have seen landmark judgments again of people committing cyber harassment and cyber stalking and being punished by the relevant authorities. So again, this is also another dimension to harassment, that harassment is not just physical. It can, and in most forms post-COVID, it has taken an online digital form as well. Now, apart from being a legal professional, I am also, for all intents and purposes, an HR professional as well. I've been associated with Accelerate Private Limited for over a decade now, and it is in fact in that capacity that I became a trainer, and I specialized amongst other things in the area of sexual harassment because of the overlap of the law and the HR elements over here. So I would like to very strongly focus on the fact that why should workplaces take harassment seriously? And it is a known fact that any toxic work culture violates human rights. It destroys productivity, innovation, institutional trust. Employees in unsafe workplaces underperform, they disengage, they leave, leading to a high turnover and reputational damage to the organization. In Pakistan, poor handling of complaints can lead and has in fact led to litigation. Courts have repeatedly stated that harassment is a violation of dignity and not just an HR issue. Internationally, the trend is also very clear. The UK, for example, introduced a law in recent years making employers legally liable if they fail to take reasonable steps to prevent harassment. This reflects a duty of care principle. Organizations must not only react but proactively create safe environments. In the last couple of years, we have seen several cases of sexual harassment or several landmark judgments. And again, it just goes to show the different fields that sexual harassment takes place in. There isn't one particular field. It could be a multinational, it could be a hospital, it could be academic institutions. And there was a very recent case where a young female university student committed suicide, most likely and allegedly due to some form of sexual harassment that she was facing as a result of a particular person in a position of authority within that university. And it's pertinent to say that behind each headline lies a story of trauma, disbelief, and institutional failure. Harassment isn't only a disciplinary infraction, it is a public health and human rights crisis that can destroy lives. People often feel that if they are legal experts or experts in policy, only then can they take matters into their hand. No, you're very wrong. When it comes to sexual harassment that you're witnessing either at your own workplace or in a public place, you, as a good Samaritan, can intervene. You can be what's called an active bystander. A passive bystander is somebody who sees something happening and chooses to walk away, which could have moral and legal consequences. An action is wrong, but an omission could also be you could also be legally culpable for that. An active bystander is somebody who chooses to stand up for what is right and to help somebody else, somebody who puts themselves in the victim's shoes and imagines that they could be a victim and they would want somebody to help them. So I'll take you through the 5 Ds. What I want you to do right now is to imagine yourself in a restaurant. And as a story, in fact, I'm a fiction writer, so I would like you to actually imagine a scenario, and I'm going to implement these 5 Ds in that particular restaurant setting. You see a woman sitting alone and she's having a meal herself. A man walks towards her, he bends over, he says something that makes her extremely uncomfortable. You've been sitting there since the past half an hour, you are aware of the fact that the woman is alone, she's having her meal, so she's most likely not waiting for anybody else. She doesn't know the man because of her body language and it's making her uncomfortable. What do? Now here come the 5 Ds. There's something called direct confrontation, where you can walk up directly to the man and ask them, you can tell them to leave the woman alone. You can ask them as to what is their problem. You can directly chastise them. If, however, you feel that the situation is a dangerous one, the person could be armed, you're not in a position to intervene, direct confrontation in that situation should be avoided. We move on to the next intervention, which is distraction. Distraction is where you walk up to that same woman and you pretend as if you know them. You ask them for the time. You tell them that you know somebody who knows of them, and you try and create you fabricate a story where the perpetrator understands that you've understood what's happening, and then they walk away because they're afraid of the repercussions of what you might do. That is distraction, and in fact that is the bystander intervention strategy that is most encouraged. You can also delegate the matter. If you feel there's nothing that you can do yourself, you can go to the manager or to whoever is in authority and ask them to look into this situation. You can document it as well. If you feel that it's getting out of hand, if you feel that there should be some sort of evidence, you can take pictures, you can record a video. But having said that, and this is very important for a Pakistani audience, please do not do anything with that video or photographs. Do not circulate it online without the victim's permission. In fact, if you have recorded something or if you've taken any pictures, please share it with the victim and ask them what would they like to do with it. If they ask you to respect their privacy and to delete it, then go ahead and delete it. But always make sure that the victim is comfortable. The delaying tactic is also an important tactic, which is that once the person or the perpetrator has said whatever he has to the victim and has walked away, go to the victim, ask them if they're okay, ask them if you can call somebody, and just make sure that they're all right. And if you can do something for them, then just go ahead and do that with their permission. As far as legal recourse is concerned, if you're an employee in an organization, the first thing, of course, is for you to go to someone superior to talk about it. Of course, if it is somebody who's higher than you, who has committed the harassment, you need to go to somebody who is higher than that. By law, you have to remember and you must remind the management of your organizations that they have to create a 3-member inquiry committee who investigate the matter. If you are dissatisfied with the verdict of that inquiry committee, you can proceed to FOSPA. They've got an online complaint portal, or you can go physically as well over there and file your complaint. FOSPA conducts investigations. They can summon witnesses. They can evaluate evidence and issue decisions enforceable under the law. And they have been known to have produced some landmark judgments, as we've seen over the last couple of years. If it is a matter pertaining to cyber harassment, then the relevant department is the cybercrime wing of the FIA. Again, they've got an online portal, but if you'd rather go for a speedier process, then it's best if you visit their office at Gulistana. With that, I'd like to share some concluding reflections on this matter. To end harassment, we need a lot more than just mere laws. We need courage, we need empathy, and more than anything else, we need accountability. This fight against harassment is not just a woman's issue. It is a societal problem. Every manager, every teacher, every doctor, every HR professional and colleague has a role to play. You and I have a role to play. We do not have to be legal experts. I've just told you that. A truly civilized workplace is one where dignity is non-negotiable and where complaint mechanisms are not feared, but rather they are trusted and encouraged. So as we gather here today, under Ladiesfund, let's promise to create environments where everybody feels safe to work, to learn, to thrive, free from fear, from judgment or silence. On that note, I thank you for listening, and once again, I thank you with all my heart, Tara Daud and Ladiesfund. All the best to you.
Thank you, Sana, for such an insightful and empowering session. Your clarity, depth of thought, and practical guidance have truly helped us in understanding better not just our rights, but also the importance of respect and responsibility in creating safer environments for everyone. Conversations like these are important, especially in a month where sexual harassment is being educated, as they encourage awareness, dialogue and action. On behalf of Ladiesfund and all those present, we are deeply grateful for your time and expertise. I'd also like to thank everyone who joined us today. Your presence and engagement reflect a shared commitment to building a safer, more informed space for women. We encourage you to continue investing with Ladiesfund, participate in our programs, join our global network, and most importantly, keep investing in yourself. Thank you once again, and we look forward to welcoming you in many such future events. Thank you.